Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio on W4HC Radio, where you can learn to accelerate your body, mind, and spirit to reclaim the true potential that exists within you through cutting-edge wellness, tools, and modalities. Here's your host, Sarah Banta.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio. I'm your host, Sarah Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of 3 teenagers. I believe that your body does want to and is capable of rebuilding and healing itself regardless of what chronic disease you may have. And I'm here for you to answer your questions, bring you innovative and cutting-edge technology and health solutions to empower you in your ability to reach your optimal state of health. I'm so excited about our guest today. She's returning for the 3rd time. Elle Russ is the author of Confident as Fuck and the best-selling health book, The Paleo Thyroid Solution, which has helped thousands, including me, of people around the world to reclaim their health. Elle is also a TV film writer, and she's a host of the popular Primal Blueprint podcast that I listen to weekly, started by Mark Sisson. And I'm also so excited to announce that Elle and I have joined up, and we're doing a giveaway of a copy of her book, The Paleo Thyroid Solution, and one of my full keto detox bundles from Accelerated Health Products of 6 supplements to detox, reset, and rebuild your immune system, cut the sugar cravings, boost your thyroid health, and boost your physical and mental energy. It's valued over $250. You don't want to miss this. It is setting you up for success. I'll have the link in the show notes. Well, welcome, Elle. How are you this morning?
I'm great. I'm honored to be back a 3rd time.
I never can get sick of you. And for those of you who have missed our first 2 interviews, you can find them under episode 25 and 29 at Accelerated Health Radio. We talk all things thyroid and more of the physical health. So this time we are turning the page a little bit, and we're going to talk about confidence, which is something that I was just telling Elle, I have gained it. But there are days when I lose it and I have to remind myself. And this is a book or little snippets that I could go back to and go back to and then go back to and remind myself of, I need to still work on that. So I personally, on a side note, find that some people who I'm trying to help with their health, their physical health, don't have the confidence or self-esteem to take control of that physical health because of self-doubt or negative self-fulfilling prophecy and thinking that they're worthy of feeling good. And so they then don't follow through with their health changes because of that lack of confidence. And this is why I always talk about the importance of body, mind, and spirit as one. So I wanted to touch on that, but why don't you, Elle, give a short backdrop to your journey and what has inspired you to write this book?
Yeah, so confidence is everything, is something that everybody wants or wants more of. They just do, for a variety of reasons I'll get into in a second. But so why me? Why am I the person to talk about this? Well, I am ultra confident. I really am. However, so what I noticed throughout my life, and this might be similar to everyone on listening here, including yourself, where you start to notice a theme of people who, a certain type of personality that might be drawn to you through friends and colleagues. And the one theme that I kept seeing was that people kept coming to me and calling me when they needed to stand up to a bully, ask their boss for a raise, tell that PTA mom to go shove it, or whatever the scenario was, they were always calling me for things that were regarding confidence. Now, on that note, it sounds a little pedestal-y, like, oh, all these people flock to me for this confidence. However, I had a lot to learn from them. So people who might be less confident, who we might call beta versus alpha, there's no negativity to that. The positive qualities they have that confident, highly confident people need are the following. They are way better receivers. They receive from others, like whether it's a compliment or help. Where alphas and highly confident people are sometimes disabling of others that way, because we'll just be like, I'll do it. I got it. Let me just take care of it. So we're bad delegators. The other thing too is that we don't want to be vulnerable, which was probably my major pitfall. And we can get into that in a minute. But highly confident people, I didn't want anyone to see any kind of emotion from me because I saw it as a weakness. I argue in the book that it actually is the most confident as F you could possibly be to be vulnerable because it is the ultimate not caring about what other people think of you, which is confident as F. So this is sort of a theme. They also are more diplomatic. People who are highly confident people who are mostly alpha, we're pretty quick with our declarations. And we could use a little bit more of a let me think about that before I speak, where sometimes less confident people, whether or not it's because they're afraid of speaking up, they are a little bit more diplomatic. So again, this is like a symbiotic relationship and we have a lot to learn. So this book is not just for people who want confidence, it's for highly confident people who might need to do some refining and clean some stuff up. But when we talk about confidence, because I think a lot of people have misinterpretations of what it is. So if someone is not outwardly confident, they almost get offended by the talk of it because they think that it's some outward, outgoing, extroverted thing that they're not. And so they look at it like, well, they kind of poo-poo it. The thing is that it's not. Outward confidence is performance confidence. Anybody can gain the confidence to get on stage and give a speech. That doesn't mean you're confident. You could walk off the stage and be insecure as hell and have low self-esteem and not be able to speak up to your loved ones or your neighbors. That's not confidence. So in this book, I argue it's inside and outside. It's all encompassing. And if we really look at what confidence is on a very broad plane, it is the general belief that you're going to prevail, essentially. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of other things too. I mean, let's talk about this. Confident people, they approach challenging situations as something to be conquered, not, and mastered, not hazards, not a fear to avoid. They're comfortable with failures. They speak with authority. And here's the big one. They're dependable, reliable, and trustworthy. I mean, people seek out confident people. When I used to hire people for a living 20 years ago, I'd rather hire a confident person than someone who's skilled in the thing. Because there's just these qualities like proactiveness, being on time, trusting them to figure it out. These kind of characteristics are really important in employees. And confident people, they encourage and foster and celebrate the success of others. The confident people are not nasty. If you see some bravado, braggadocious, whatever, that's weak as F. That is insecurity. That's not confidence. We can all see that when we know someone's bragging about something, if you have to try to prove yourself to someone or feel like you have to prove who you are, you lost the confidence game right there. It just ended for you because that's not what confident people do. We take initiative. We're leaders. We're decisive. We're goal-oriented, right? So we have a lot of these really great qualities, but again, those are all like forward action, powerful qualities. And like I said before, we need to soften and we need to bring in the other side of the coin to us, where those people who aren't confident need to gain the other that we have. So I'll stop there and then we can go from there.
I love the point that you made of vulnerability, because as I found, as I was gaining my confidence, I felt like I couldn't be vulnerable. There was that stage of where, no, I've got to be hard. I've got to put up this wall and guard it and not be vulnerable, not talk about my weaknesses as I was trying to get to that state of confidence. And then as I became more confident, I found myself, it's okay to be vulnerable. People are attracted to a little bit of that vulnerability because it makes you real and more approachable. And
you're right. I mean, here's the thing. That might be also a way to do it. It's individual. So if you're a super vulnerable person and you're wearing your heart on your sleeve and you're trying to power up and get a little bit more confident, then maybe you do sort of, hide a little bit of that. Particularly in certain instances. I'm probably not going to be super vulnerable in a negotiation meeting. You know what I mean? All right. Like there are the times when you have to put that hat on and be super powerful and bold and and not power to dominate. Okay. Do you know what I mean? It's not about dominating and barreling over others. That's not confidence either. That's just bullying, which essentially is insecure. So that might be the way to do it. If you are that person, and on the other side, I was the person that never wore my heart on the sleeve, would never. So, I had to open up a bit too. But look, know your audience. Timing is appropriate. There are certain arenas where it is a fail to be vulnerable. And but those are usually, again, like business negotiations, being on the job, on, being responsible for something. No one wants a crying employee all the time, or whatever. So of course. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about parental garbage, and I wanted to talk a little bit about your growing up experience, and we were chatting a little bit about my parental garbage before we got on. This is a big one because I feel like, as confident as we can get, we are so impressionable in those younger years that there's that subconscious that keeps coming back in the rest of our lives that we have to address if there's any weakness or vulnerability or a lack of confidence due to parental issues from our growing up experience that we have to really work through.
It's classic psychology that we often repeat patterns that are familiar to us, even though they're not healthy, which is why when they're taking the crying, beaten baby, the, Child Family Services is taking the crying, beaten baby away from the mother, the baby's still reaching out for the mother. Why would the baby do that? It was just beaten by the mother, right? But that's all they know. Okay, it's all they know. And so why does someone who, get into an abusive relationship? Well, maybe their mother was beaten. This is just, again, it's not healthy. It's not even conscious. Okay. But these things can seep in and affect our adult life if we don't change the story. We're born confident. I mean, come on, you have 3 kids. Were any of them when they were born not like, no, give me that, and reaching for stuff? They're just like ready to declare everything, right? I mean, if anything, half of parenting is trying to be like, hey, you need to stop running the show here. So we're born with this. And then somewhere along the way, a teacher, a parent, or, whatever happens, right? And look, there's a lot of garbage people have to get through. If you were beaten every day as you're growing up, my gosh, that might be more work than someone else who has something minor. No one is worse than the other, but my parental garbage happened with me and what I thought about relationships, because my father was an alcoholic, but he was like a really fun one that everyone wanted to hang out with. So he got away with murder because he was kind of functional enough and people loved him and it was fun, but he was still like the loser dad. Do you know what I mean? He was still like king of the losers and kind of a loser. I didn't really admire him. And he also lost all of our money when I was younger. And when my mother married him and their family and everything looked good and they loved each other, and the whole deal back then was like, great, well, you're going to stay home and take care of the kids, which is kind of how that paradigm was then. And my mom was like, okay. And then he loses all of our money. So at the time when I was younger, my whole story that I created about men was, see, this is what happened. You can marry someone with a nice family, old money, doing well, college educated, all this stuff. Things look great. Bank account's great. And then one day they leave you in the dust, high and dry. Now you got to take care of 2 kids on your own, and they're just not worth it. So at that moment, I was like, I am never relying on a guy for anything. Like, F that. I'm going to go out and make my own money because they're unreliable, and you could just get left in the dust at any moment. So, right, not going down that. I see where my mom is. I'm not going to be there. Well, What do you think that created? I mean, look, every single guy I ran into after that had some level of unavailability. That was in my father. Either they, didn't want a relationship. They were cheaters. They were losers. They were whatever it was. And I kept reaffirming my story. See, told you, right? Told you. So I had to really do some work on that. And then I started to attract a completely different type of person. But I didn't realize that I was continually refueling that declaration, that thought I had as a kid where I was like, nope, things look perfect. And then next thing you know, you're left in the dust. Nope. And so I kept attracting scenarios, right? So I was the common denominator. But I think the most interesting one that everyone will relate to, because it's not involving necessarily drama or trauma per se, is the story about Brandon in the book. So Brandon is in his 40s, but for decades suffered because he was a contractor, and every single job he was on, particularly with this one manager, something would always go wrong. And then Brandon would get chastised publicly and patronized by the boss in front of the whole crew every time. And this kept happening, and Brandon never spoke up. So we're talking one day, and I said, well, hold on a second. I mean, this is really weird because I don't know anyone else that has this particular thing they keep attracting. So what happened? He tells me his story. We get back into childhood a little bit. He tells me his story. It just nailed it. They lived in a middle class, wonderful household. No one was beaten or molested. Everyone had food and good education and all that kind of stuff. But the dad could be a little bit of a hothead. And so let's say the dad would misplace the hammer in his toolbox. He would, yell at Brandon, "I know you stole it. Where is it? I know you took it." Brandon would be like, "I didn't take it." And he didn't. And then, ranting and raving. And then the dad would find the hammer and never apologize about it. Right? Okay, so bingo. Continually perpetuating a story of being made to feel wrong and patronized with people in positions of authority. Just right there. So the first part of this was talking to Brandon about what he was going to do the next time this happened, because he was going to work with this guy again in the foreseeable future. And surely this was going to happen again. It's like clockwork. I knew it was going to happen again. So we had to get Brandon to prepare himself to finally at some point speak up. It's never comfortable the first time. There are nerves. It's shaky. It may be more comfortable for me, but still, even to this day, if I am challenged, which is rare, and I have to speak up, hey, sometimes it is uncomfortable. You get, your heart rate's up. It's not ever super pleasant, but it may be even more unpleasant for someone who's never done it. So he speaks up, but of course he makes sure he's ready to be prepared to be fired or have to walk out on the job. So, listen, if you're supporting a family, you got to, prepare for these kind of things if you're going to speak up to a bully. So he did. It happened again. Something went wrong. It wasn't his fault. He was chastised, and he spoke up and said something to the effect of, "Hey, if you're not going to speak to me in a professional tone, I am walking off this job right now." And what happened was exactly what I thought would happen. When you bully a bully, they shut down. They are shocked as hell because they've been getting away with no one saying a damn thing forever. So when you go, "Yo, I'm calling you on your BS," they don't know what to do. It's actually the best thing you can do. So exactly what happened. He apologized. Didn't happen again. But then here's the best part. Brandon started to attract different managers on different contracts. And every contract after that, nothing went wrong. Not only did nothing go wrong, people would email him after the job and go, "Oh my God, Brandon, this is amazing working with you. Everything was so..." And you can imagine the calls I got from Brandon. The first call about speaking up to the bully was, "I wish I could bottle that confidence, that level of self-esteem, that level of like, yeah, damn it, boundaries. You're not going to talk to me that way." Right? Yeah, because that's how you're feeling. You're just not saying it. You're not being authentic. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So you're a people pleaser and you're a liar. That's what that is. We can get into that in a moment. Because when you are a people pleaser, you say or omit things because you're afraid people will judge you or not like you. So you get into these covert contracts and passive aggressive behavior, and it always backfires. So it's always better to be authentic and true to yourself. Again, with the caveat that sometimes it's appropriate for white lies. If I'm at dinner at your house and your mother has an ugly sweater and asks me if I think it's cute, I'm going to tell her it's cute. Okay, so those are the obvious things. So this happened with Brandon. Now, here's the thing, though. If you had a continual pattern of something like this, like Brandon, where every job he's everything goes wrong, and then you finally correct it, you finally step up and do a pro-you move to change it, you will get some prizes for that, but you also down the road might get a tester. You might get a tester, and that happened to Brandon. He had several good jobs, great things, and then he got a tester. And he had to speak up again. And he was so proud of himself. And he did. And it was over in a minute. And that was the end of that. And this newfound Brandon is a whole entirely new person. But think about that. This dumb thing from childhood about a hammer or about a bottle of baby oil or whatever the hell it was about led to screwing up the confidence in the workplace, in his career for 2 decades. Yeah. So we all have something that we need to go back and look on. And how do you figure that out? What keeps happening in your life you don't like? You keep running into the same awful, crappy type of girl that you're dating. You keep getting fired from jobs. Do you keep getting rejected from circles of friends? Or like, what keeps happening to you that you're like, damn it, right? And that is the thing that you need to go and examine. There might be some parental garbage there that you can unpack.
Well, I truly believe whether you are a Christian or you just believe in the universe or whatever your faith is, I believe the universe gives you these lessons over and over and over again until you figure out the solution to make you grow. And, even in the Bible, it talks about family, how they are not there to be your best friends. They are there to teach you life lessons. And I now look back on my childhood, on some of the people that were very difficult for me as thank you Thank you for teaching me those life lessons, because you are teaching me what I don't want to be. And you've directed me in a way where I'm going to grow as the person I'm meant to be. But those lessons, like we were talking about earlier, I think I've gotten over it. And then maybe I'm stressed out because of something else. And then I'm in a weak point and I get, the universe kind of gives me that lesson again and I'm confronted with it and I fall back into that trap and I go, gosh, darn it. I need to get back on track. And so just like you're getting back on track on your physical health, on diet and exercise and all that, you need to get back on your confident health and your mental health and where you are, how you are conducting yourself. But that,
and I'm sure you've heard this too, which is when pilots who pilot planes, 95% of their whole flight is course correction.
Yes.
They're constantly adjusting for variables, but they are constantly correcting and trying to get back on course. So that is what life's about. And I love what you said about people being what Mike Dooley calls personal emotional trainers. They're your pets, right? And I also just want to interject and say something about faith. So for those listening, I'm not religious, but for those listening that are religious and believe in any type of God, then you need to use your faith to gain that confidence. Because here's the thing, true faith is having a sense of confidence connected to you feeling accepted by God and that your future is secure because God's watching over you. So it's illogical to declare faith in a God, but have no confidence in yourself, because that means you do not actually have faith in God. So if you declare faith in a God, then it must follow, based on what every religion teaches about God, that you should have faith in yourself, faith in your ability to learn, to change, to grow. So you have to remember that, right? God loves you when you screw up, and you can always ask for forgiveness and you can always do better. And so use God and your religion to the advantage it inherently offers you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So
and
people who claim to be so people who claim to be religious yet lack self-esteem and confidence have to resolve that contradiction. So you must move forward in developing faith in yourself, because that's only going to strengthen your relationship with God and vice versa. So, and this applies to whatever religion, being, prophet, ethereal energy you believe in. So go out there and get your religious confidence back. I mean, you've got a tool there. So you see what I'm saying? So it's really interesting. I was coaching someone on thyroid health and they were extremely negative and down, which, listen, you don't have enough T3 in your brain. You're going to be depressed. It's hard to have confidence when you're in pain all the time from MS or rheumatoid arthritis. I mean, these are tough challenges, and you may not fully get that confidence back until you heal yourself. But, at the end of the day, these things are just, so this client, I said to her, are you religious? Do you go to church? And she said, every Sunday. And I said, well, then what's going on? Why don't you have faith that you're going to get better? You need to go in there and do the work with your God. You need to get more into that. You're just showing up and phoning it in. So stop it. So you got a tool, use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the downer effect, because I think that has something to do with what we're talking about and how those people are are there to redirect you as well. I think they're reminders of what you don't want to be.
Yeah, so you, me, and everyone we know has been a downer. We have downered someone's idea through either expressing it verbally or thinking it. So for example, let's say you come to me and you're like, I'm so excited. I'm thinking about starting a business with health products. And my first response is, I don't know, Sarah. I mean, 50% of new businesses fail. Now my response would be, F you, I'll be on the side of the 50% that succeed. Thanks for relegating me to the failure side. Jerk.
By the way, let me interject. Yep. When I did start my company, how many people in my family do you think were pro Sarah?
Zero?
Zero. It was a hobby. You know nothing about health. In fact, you've had health issues. Why would anybody come to you?
Ooh, and that's a major downer. That's a major downer, because it's saying you're a fraud. You have no right to do. I mean, what a huge downer, right? So what is that? Someone, and basically almost everyone in this world, is going to project a lack of confidence onto you about a thing. What are you going to do about it? You going to accept that? No, you're not. Not if I can help it, right? So they're going to project this onto you. Now, we've all been downers, and I want to, let's give it, there's so many examples in the book, but give a basic one where it was just a thought that I had. Well, actually, I'll start with this one. So when I wrote my first book, The Paleo Thyroid Solution, I was very excited that Mark Sisson was going to possibly publish my book. And so I had a meeting to go pitch him the idea for this book. And I had written up the whole thing and did the professional, I didn't even probably need to, but I did the whole professional, way to kind of present that. And I was talking to a family member who normally loves me and is not a downer on my life. They love me. They want me to succeed. But you know what? Even those people can be downers and not know it. And the first thing out of their mouth when I said, I'm so excited, I'm going to pitch a book to Mark, they said, well, you've never written a book before. Okay. Wow. Downer, number one. And then I was like, ooh, ouch. And I was like, well, I've written lots of other things. It's just another medium. It's no different to me. Okay, moving on. So then Mark decides he's going to publish my book. And I'm so excited. I tell the family member, he's going to publish my book. Loved it. The first reaction out of their mouth was, well, now you have to write it. Oh my God. In that comment, they're basically saying, I don't believe you can do it. Right? They're basically saying I don't know. Good luck. That's the second downer. Then the third downer was Barnes & Noble, before the book was published, decided to buy 1,000 copies or whatever it was. And I was expressing this to the same family member, oh, Barnes & Noble's just bought a couple thousand copies, da-da-da. This was their first reaction. Well, why would they do that? That's silly. Why would they take a chance on a book they've never read? Oh my God. So now you're just relegating me to an embarrassment of a failure in front of a huge book company. And I mean, every single one of these comments, do you see that? I hope everyone out can hear that. Those are downers, man. And so what I did is when I wrote the book, I put that in there and then I actually showed it to the person. I said, this is you, by the way. And they were like, it hit them. They got it. They were like, well, I didn't mean any of those. I go, I know you didn't think you meant it, but do you see how that was the biggest F and downer comments you could have ever made to somebody in this process? Luckily, I am confident and I didn't let it affect me, right? But here's the thing about those downers. You don't win with them. You keep telling your sister Mary about all your exciting projects over 20 years and she keeps being a downer. Guess what? She's not going to change. So you're the insane person. Stop sharing your great ideas with your sister Mary. Stop it.
Yes.
So we have to avoid these downers. You need to get a tribe, get a coach, unbiased people, a free group online. I don't care what it is. Stop trying to get these people to be in your corner. They are not. So I've been downered many times. A great example of a downer that doesn't seem obvious is the following. I have a girlfriend who's in her 40s. She's never had health insurance her whole life. This kills me because I've been a beneficiary of health insurance. I was born and raised to you never walk out of the house without. I think a lot of people get health insurance because, oh, what if I fall off a cliff and break every bone in my body and it's $100 million, right? This is why we get insurance in case of. So I'm sitting there trying to convince her on the phone. I'm like, this is so stupid. This is irresponsible. What if something happened? And then, you slit your finger and then it's a just dumb cut and costs $80,000. And what are you going to do? And she said, you know what, Elle, I just don't have the same beliefs about health that you do. And I don't walk out of my house worried about not having insurance. And I actually feel completely fine about my health. Yikes. What was I going to say to that? That's her belief, right? I have to. Okay. So I'm very frustrated. And we get off the phone. And my first thought is, I'm angry, I'm mad, I'm just thinking she's so dumb. And the first thing I'm kind of say to myself is, yeah, watch, something's going to happen. She'll see. Mm-hmm. Yikes. We really need to unpack that for a second. Dude, in order for me to be right about my point of insurance, my friend would, number one, have to have a medical thing happen to her that was unpleasant. Do I want that? No. Secondly, that medical thing would have to screw her so much financially so my point about insurance could be made. Yeah. Yikes. Do I want this for my best friend? What a freaking downer. What a downer thought. Why does it matter? It's just a thought, Elle. Who cares? Because it lowered my vibration. Do you want your friends thinking that way about you? You want that energy out there? I don't want to be right? I don't want to be right, And I guarantee you that if all that stuff happened, do you think I would be like, I told you? No, I'd be mortified. So we also have to look at the way we're thinking about other people. If you're chumping in on other people's confidence, it's going to come right back to you. So even thoughts like that, they're just low vibration. How do you know? You don't feel good after you get off the phone call. Basically, anytime you feel and you're in a place of needing to be right, you are usually hoping for someone else's failure. That is the opposite side of it. And that goes for jealousy. If you are, it's one thing to envy and go, oh, Sarah has this new private jet. That's awesome. I'm so inspired. I can get one too. Okay. That's sometimes envy or wanting things people have can inform us of things we want, which is great. But being jealous is actually secretly hoping the person you're jealous of fails at the thing that you wish it was you. That's hoping for other people's failure. It's got to stop. So, confident people are not envious. They're not jealous. They don't compete. And so that is really when it comes to we've got to stop being downers. And it could be a dumb thing. Like, are you the downer? That's the person that's, are you bringing up like a simple one? You pick up a friend from the airport and then they sit there. How was your trip? And they go into the whole airport story. Well, my luggage and then this one. Oh my God, really? Are you going to involve me in your airport story? Like, we've all had one. Really? Is this the kind of shit you're bringing into my day? Like, and also, well, it looks like the airport won, didn't it? Airport just totally screwed up your vibration for the whole. So it's nice to just, when we are about to water cooler talk or gossip or whatever, just stop and go, is what I'm going to say going to raise the vibration of this conversation? And is it necessary? Or can I just keep it to myself because it's a damn airport story and everyone's had it and I'm just going to shut up?
Right. And who has a great airport story? I mean, right. And the thing that I love what you just said is, how did you feel when you hung up the phone? Or how did you feel when you left that conversation? Right. You have that pit in your stomach, even if you felt like, okay, well, I'm putting that person down so I can feel good about myself. You're still going to have that instinctual bad feeling in your gut. And it's telling you something. It's telling you, God, I should not be talking that way. And we've all been there. But I love that. And I love the fact that you talk about finding a tribe, because if you're around downers, they may never change, but you have to change. You have no control over them. You can't tell them to be something different, but you can choose to not be around them anymore. You can choose to find people that raise your vibration. And that's something that I've been working on in the last 2 years of my life is, okay, who are the toxic people in my life? Who are the people I want to be better or be more like in whatever area it is? Is it in my business? Is it in my friend group? Is it in my marriage? Are there other wives that I'm looking at that, God, they've got an amazing marriage. I want to be more like them. Or as a mom or whatever it is, in whatever category, to find those people that you want to strive to be like, not to compete with, but to take what they're doing and maybe help that raise your own vibration. And I love what you talk about, how it's not a competition. It's you're just competing with yourself. It's not a win or lose. And let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So this is something that in first glance, people are like, wait, what? Because if you're in a competition, like a marathon, there's other competitors. You're competing against other people. Technically, that's what the whole race is about, right? So what do you mean, Elle? You don't compete? I still wouldn't compete. By the way, I have a funny story about that I didn't put in the book, but let me just share this. So when you compete, you lose. What do I mean about that? So if I'm in a competition with a bunch of people, I could be whatever. It's like a race. I'm not going into there like, my vibe and the way that I'm thinking is not about like, oh, I'm gonna kick Sarah's butt. Like, my joy of anything in that environment is not based on your potential failure. I am just going into that going, I'm gonna dominate and be number one. That has nothing to do with other people. But if I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to take her down, and because the glory afterwards is about gloating and having them feel a certain way, because we all know the difference. The difference is that I don't do that. It's why I often win. And by the way, this was really funny. I got a good joke played on me by the universe on this one. I entered into a 10-mile stand-up paddleboard competition many years ago in Malibu. And for weeks, I was vibing this law of attraction. I was like, I'm going to so win. Number one, I am going to get first place. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to dominate. Done. And I just held that in my mind. I was like, I'm going to win. So I get there that day. I'm on the beach. There's a bunch of people, whatever. I did win. Okay, so I did win first place, but here's the funny part about it. I realized later when they told me the reason I won is that I was the only one in my category. So in a way, I was kind of like, it would have been nice to kind of beat other people, even though I'm not, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, okay, be careful what you wish for, because in some sense, there's a little like, it's like being the valedictorian of a class of 3, right? So right. It's, you're a little like, so it was kind of funny, but it's interesting how that worked out. Like, I did win first place and I actually ended up having no competitors, which is why I won. So yeah. So also, confident people don't compete because we know there's not a lack of abundance. So if you're like, hey, I want to start a podcast or I want to be a writer, I'm not immediately threatened. I don't care. You can have more followers than me. I don't care if people, I want people to succeed. And people need to start to adopt that philosophy of being pro other people. And so I've always been stoked about other people's successes and things like that. I encourage it. I'm not threatened. That's why I help so many people. That's why I'm a super connector. I mean, you even know that in the short time.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing.
To anybody, I'll connect people. I'm basically like an amateur PR agent. People are like, you should have been a PR agent in another lifetime. I'm like, I know. So I don't. It's not compatible. I'm not like, well, if I introduce Sarah to them, and then they might see. I don't. There's enough room for everybody, and that is a sense of knowing there is enough to go around and there's no lack of abundance. So competing is not a confident person strategy. We actually help people succeed. We encourage that. And on the note of friends, what we talked about earlier, here's another indication. If you feel that you have to be small or tiny voice about expressing to a friend or someone about the exciting things going on in your life because you think it'll make them feel bad about them, it's probably a friend to get rid of.
Yeah.
If you have to be small because someone else is because they shouldn't be, because when you tell them something awesome about your life, they should be like, F yeah, oh my God, right? Like that's a friend. Yeah. So, and I had a friend like that, and I had to move away from that because I noticed that I was not sharing things about my life that were exciting because I could sense, you could just feel it. And that's the thing. Emotions can't be bottled. We all know when someone's not buying our stuff. We all know when someone's rolling their eyes inside their head going, yeah, right, good luck with that. We all know it.
Yeah.
And it's going to come right back on you. It happened to me. Actually, I have a story in the book. When I was in high school, there's two fellow teenagers that were friends of my brother, and they were over for a party, and they were talking about how they're going to go out to LA to become actresses. And I downered them in my head. At the time, I thought, good luck. They're going to be on a plane right back to Chicago in no time. Yeah, right. I mean, total downer. Ooh, in my face. They both became famous, highly respected, extremely wealthy actresses to this day. Okay, so that years later, when I was pursuing acting after my arms got disabled and I was pursuing things with my voice and acting, I remember a couple people downering me. Like you could tell, like you're like, oh, I'm an actor. And they're like, good luck with that, right? And I was like, ooh, in my face. So don't downer people unless you want that to come back to you too. I learned that lesson. Got my butt handed to me on that one. I think it was pretty funny. So yeah. So I mean, you got to encourage other people, and what does it hurt? Like if you're telling me about a business, and even if I don't believe in you, even if I'm being a downer on the inside, what does it hurt to be like, oh my God, that's awesome, great. Even if I think you're going to fail, let you fail then, because what you're going to remember is that I encouraged you. Yeah. Right? Be a good friend. And if you have the thought that they're not going to succeed, turn it around and go, hold on a minute. I want them to. I hope they prove me wrong. I'm being a downer right now. I want Sarah to succeed at her business. Please let that happen. You just catch that thought and you cancel it and you put out another one and you try to stay there every time you roll your eyes inside, because every time Sarah calls you about a new business thing she's doing and you're going, oh God, she's on the wrong train. Whatever your downer thought is, turn it around and start to be a supportive friend, damn it. You don't want your friends thinking that way about you. You stop it.
Yeah, and I especially think that women do this to each other, which is so unfortunate. And I see it as young as my 13-year-old and her friends, and everyone leaving other people out, and the way their little games that they play at such a young age. And what I try to teach them, and we can get into the victim mentality, is you have to strengthen yourself and be confident in who you are. And there's nothing wrong with you if you're being left out. There's nothing wrong with you. Don't change who you are. Just be more of yourself and be more present of who you are and show yourself and be confident in yourself. Don't be mean. Don't ever give another girl a reason to point the finger that you were the mean one, because I believe in karma, whether you're of faith or faith in the universe. There is karma, and when you give, the universe will give back tenfold. And I truly believe that. And so you can't be that victim. And I watch so many parents now. This is such a big problem with our generation, is the parents say, well, little Joey, it's so unfortunate. All the boys are mean to him. He didn't get picked on the soccer team. He didn't get a good grade in that class because the teacher picked him out and really hated him from day one, didn't like the sister in the class 4 years ago. So he's suffering. That victim mentality is something that I cannot stand. And life is giving you whatever challenge, because we're all victims. We've all had tough lives and it's all relative. So we're all having to overcome some lesson in life that we're meant to overcome. And if you stay in that victim mentality, you're never going to grow. But let's talk about victim mentality as it relates to confidence.
I want to highlight what you brought off, because that's so true, which is those parents are almost fostering victimhood.
Yes.
They're fostering it. So one of the things with kids, because I've worked with kids my whole life, I taught preschool and 7th and 8th graders and was an overnight camp counselor for 8 weeks with kids. So I've worked with lots of different types of children. And I will say this, the number one thing particularly is that people need to be mindful of stop complimenting little girls on how pretty and cute they are. Now, that's lovely. All little girls want that. It's okay. But I think if we need to tip the scales more in the favor of complimenting children on the intellectual connections they make, because they make them all the time. They make them all the time. I'll give a dumb example that happened recently, and it's even though it involves politics, it's not political. But when our president came out and was talking about bleach and Clorox and all this kind of stuff, and okay, so all right, whatever he meant, but what it came off at was like, oh, hey, this is a disinfectant. Why can't we put it in the body? Because then it would kill the virus. Now, a child would see that or think of that. Like a child might make that. Like, hey, mommy, you use Clorox to clean off the table. If the virus is the germs, then why don't you just spray Clorox on me? Now, even though that's wrong, that's smart. That's a smart connection. So you need to take those moments to not just go, oh, no, that's not what we do and this is why. You need to take that moment to say, you know what? That is really smart that you put those two things together. And that does seem like that would be the answer, but here's why it's not the answer, because these things go on surfaces, not in the body, right? And then you're going to explain it. So I just challenge parents to, kids are making interesting connections and observations all the time. And it's more important that you're infusing to your children that they're smart. That's what I've learned, someone who's taught children. You just, whether it's true or not. And also too, right, they come back with a drawing and it's a disaster. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. You put it on your fridge because that's what you do. That's what you do.
Right.
And so, right, if you're in a competition with a kid, you often let them win. That's just what you do. You know what I mean? It's like, really, there's no glory in beating a 2-year-old, like a 5-year-old or something, right? Just let them win the race to the end of the pool. That's how it works. Out of the 5, maybe you win 1, but so you let kids win and you instill that confidence in them. And it's really, really important. On the bullying side, like you said, it's not enough to just be like, oh, don't pay attention to those people. They're just mean and blowing it off. No. What you're not doing then is the other side, which is fostering the internal self-esteem and self-worth of that kid. And let me tell you something. The reason it's very rare that people, I think in the past 5 years, 3 strangers at my gym in the steamer sauna have tried to mean girl me, bully me to my face. They totally regretted it because they chose the wrong victim on that. But it's very rare that happens to me because I'm not putting out that vibe. So again, bullies are like sea-kicking missiles to insecure people. And they will, so instead of building your child up from the inside, you're really fostering them to just kind of continue to attract more of that. Because when I was a kid, I was kind of a bully. And by the way, I got it back tenfold, like you said. I really did. Oh man, some stuff happened in my life that I was like, yep, for sure, that was a result of my behavior. But I was kind of a bully. And I actually apologized as an adult to 2 of the women in my grade school, and I was the only one out of the whole class that apologized to them. And one of them read my apology, and she cried. She wrote back. She said, "I bawled my eyes out because that means so much to me. It was so hard." And here's the thing: it wasn't necessarily even active bullying as much as it was like leaving people out intentionally, right? Things like that. Yeah. In an all-girls class of 18, you know what I mean? It's not cool. So I used to be a bully, but here's the thing. I'd prey on people like that. Are you kidding me? Like that? Of course. You sense a weak soul. I mean, it's the same thing with animals in the wild. You're injured? Mm-hmm. Oh, they're coming after you. You know what I mean? So if you don't want it, you have to change inside to not attract it. And you have to also stop being a people pleaser, which is another part of this. So, people pleasers are not just people who want to keep the peace. That's just a nice thing everyone would like to do. People pleasers, are too afraid to speak their mind and tell you their real opinion because they're afraid of what you'll think of them. That's just being a freaking liar. The reason people are drawn to confident people like me is because we're authentic, and authenticity reigns supreme. People trust it.
Yeah.
And, so if you are one of those people pleasers, you got to look at that, because you keep going down that road, you'll never gain the confidence you need to be confident as F.
I used to be a people pleaser. And then it was during the time that I actually started coming out of my shell and saying, wait a second. And I'd speak up, and the people around me didn't like it. And that was a tough time in my life, because it's kind of like when you're in a relationship with an alcoholic and they become sober, the relationship totally changes. And a lot of people get divorced. If they're married to an alcoholic that becomes sober, they're not married to the person that they were used to being in control with. And so it will change the dynamic of your relationship. So you have to be aware of that and be a little careful, but you don't. And I always laugh at the fact that you don't want your child. People always say, oh, my toddler is so easy. They're such an easy baby. They're such an easy 4-year-old. You don't necessarily want the easy 4-year-old, because they're not speaking up. They're just, okay, well, I don't want to ruffle my mom's feathers. And that person is going to be a people pleaser for the rest of their life. And I always laugh at my husband. I'm married to the non-people pleaser from day one. And his mom used to always laugh, and that he was the kind of kid that said, she would say, don't touch the stove. He'd put his hand right on the stove. His two brothers, one would start crying and say, Mom, I swear I won't touch the stove. And the other one would just walk away. And those two, it took later on, a lot of years for them to then start speaking up and not being those people pleasers they were. My husband, of course, right out of the box was not a pleaser. So, but it's interesting how you have this innate ability, or this innate part of you or personality. You're either a people pleaser or not, and how that develops. And you need to, and that was something that I had to overcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
sorry,
go ahead.
Down here, so I know.
I know.
We're on another thing, but no.
And there's so much more we could be talking about, and that's why I want everyone to go read this book, because we didn't even touch on shame, which is such a big part of disabling the confidence in your body. And honestly, everybody, this is a book I've already read twice. I've listened to Elle talk about this book multiple times. And I mentioned to her before we got on, I needed a reminder last week. I was having an issue, and my guard came down. And this is something that everybody needs reminding on. And I just want to remind everybody that we are doing a giveaway with her Paleo Thyroid Solution book, which is phenomenal. I've read it with a highlighter. I've gone back on it. I've had thyroid issues, and 96% of the United States has iodine deficiency, which is the number one predictor for Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism. And I know everybody is either hypothyroid or they know someone who is. So this book is very valuable, and the way she has dealt with her issues is in a way that I've never read before. So definitely check it out, and you get the Keto Detox bundle with the giveaway. So I will put the link in the show notes, but I want to make sure, Elle, you can tell everybody where they can find you.
Sure. So elleruss.com, and I do have a free thyroid guide there that tells you all the testing you need to get and resources for finding a doctor in your state or country. So that's free. And also every Monday I host the Primal Blueprint podcast, where I interview people in the mind, body, health. And then every Wednesday, kickasslifepodcast.com. That's with Coach Tara Garrison and myself. And we're just talking every week about things to improve your life, manifestation, creating your own reality, morning routines, the truth about being triggered, and all sorts of good life hacks and things like that. So you can go to kickasslifepodcast.com for audio options. And we also have video episodes on YouTube.
And I have to say, I always look forward to my Wednesdays after my show because I get to go listen to that. So it is like that cherry on top of the Sunday. I love it.
Thank you.
It's amazing. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And if I can help you with your health issues, you can contact me directly at sarah@acceleratedhealthproducts.com. I'm happy to put together a protocol for you. I know sometimes it's hard to know where to start. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram under Accelerated Health Products and my YouTube channel under Accelerated Health Radio. You can also find this episode and all my episodes on iHeart Radio, iTunes, Stitcher, Pandora, wherever podcast platform you subscribe to, and I will have that link to the giveaway on this episode. I'm now doing Accelerated Health Bites, where I do short informational videos about health topics and solutions that you ask me about. So if you have a health condition or a topic you want me to address, let me know. And if you liked what you heard today, please hit the subscribe button and share with a few friends who may need my help. As you share my channel, helps me help more people like you and bring more cutting edge guests like Elle on my show. And next week, I am interviewing Dr. Gary Forsman, who Elle actually introduced me to, and we'll be talking about all things detox. And remember to sign up for the giveaway that Elle and I are doing with her book, Paleothyroid Solution, and the Keto Detox Bundle. The value is over $250. So you can send me any of your questions or topics you'd love to hear. You can also use coupon on the website, acceleratedhealthproducts.com, W4HC20 for 20% off site-wide, including thyroid supplements and any of the supplements in the Keto Detox Bundle that we talked about today. Thanks for joining us today, and have a great week.
Thank you for joining us today on W4HC Radio for Accelerated Health Radio with Sarah Banta. Make sure to tune in every week at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to uncover your highest potential through natural and innovative wellness modalities.